So here we've got two new watches that I spotted the other week on AliExpress. And when I saw these come out, I really couldn't help myself because I felt like both of these, well, especially one of them, had the potential to set the standard, shall we say, at this really low end of the price bracket. And both of these watches are, unsurprisingly, from Adi's Dive. Adi's Dive being one of these Chinese brands who typically make a lot of clone-style watches, and at least one of these is sort of a clone, albeit with some unusual differences. So I'll get these boxed up and show you exactly why both of these had such high potential. Now, I've got no clue which is which, and these are two slightly different watches. Go with this one first, eh? Now, I purchased both of these with my own money. This one here on the left cost me, I think it's about £85. That was including shipping and discount codes and stuff like that, which is surprisingly towards the slightly higher end of things for Adi's Dive, but there's a reason for that, which we'll get onto in a moment. It almost takes a degree to get this plastic off, whereas this one cost me quite a chunk less. This one I think is about £52, including UK import fees and discount codes and stuff like that. And for anyone with even a surface level knowledge of watches, well, this one should be immediately pretty familiar. And again, this plastic is, wow, on exceedingly tight. And there we are. Here are the two of them side by side. We have the AD2502 on the left here and the AD2518 on the right. Now, both of these kind of look like existing watches on the surface. This one on the left looks like a fair few different designation style field watches, whereas the one on the right is more blatantly a Rolex Explorer lookalike. Now, we'll start with the one on the right first, actually, because this is the cheaper of the two. And the main reason I wanted to take a look at this is just because Adi's Dive has always been known for offering fantastic dial textures for low prices, and this one looks to be no exception. As you can see here, this again has a kind of mottled surface in a way, and this actually looks really good in person, the texturing on this one. I just wanted to see if they've released anything that might be able to compete somewhat with their famous Desert Dial watch they released a while back. That one proved very, very popular. Obviously a bit more striking than this one, but also not to everyone's taste. Not everyone wants a big dune on their wrist, do they? Whereas this is a bit more subtle and, dare I say, probably looks a bit more appropriate, shall we say, for more scenarios. And man, I'm just having a look here to the side. This watch looks so good for the money. This one, it's got all applied markers there, and everything looks quite clean close up too. Now, the rest of the design won't be winning any originality awards, but yeah, certainly oozes quality on this one. Now, this one is the blue dialed variant, which I thought just tended to look the best out of the selection online, but it also comes in a green version, a black one, which is the kind of more standard fare, and then like an unusual cream coloured one, which looks okay too, actually. As for the specs, what have we got? 316L stainless steel case here. If you've seen any Adi's Dive watches before, you'll know they all tend to use this exact same case. I'm pretty sure this is a 36mm, at least this model is, but I'll check that in just a moment. Sometimes they will release bigger versions of these watches further down the line too. Case finishing is just like all the others, pretty good for the money, I have to say. Definitely better than most mainstream brands at this price. This one also has a screw down crown here. They're advertising 100 meters of water resistance, which is pretty cool. Should keep you covered in most scenarios. Also has a screw back there with the Adi's Dive logo on the back. And as you might expect at this price, this isn't a sapphire crystal, it's a domed mineral crystal. And if anything, this is a boxed style crystal. You can see it comes up steeply at the edges and then is almost flat on the top, which gives it a bit of character but retains a lot of legibility, as you can see. Lots of the times the standard domed crystals, where it's more of a smooth transition, they end up with loads of glare and reflections, but this one actually isn't too bad, as you can see. It won't be quite as hard as a sapphire crystal used in lots of the luxury watches, for example, but it is more legible in 99% of situations, especially on cheap watches like this. And within here, I'll give you a close-up while I run you through the movement, but in here is supposedly a Seiko VH31 quartz movement. Kind of has like a mecha quartz style semi beat to the second hand there. You can see it doesn't tick once per second, it ticks like 2 or 3 times or something, so it gets you a little bit of that mechanical feel. And overall, yeah, it looks pretty good. I myself aren't really into Homage watches, so I wouldn't really be wearing this. But very impressed actually with the dial surface on this one. We'll certainly be looking out to see if Addy's Dive make any more original offerings, if they use this effect again, because yeah, it looks really good. Not really that much of a blue tone compared to the online pictures. Got like a kind of shiny navy look about it, which I think looks better. As for the sizing on this one, I think this is a foregone conclusion here. So this one, actually about 36.7 there wide. Lug to lug is just shy of 46 mil. And thickness, if you include that pretty raised crystal, is 11.3. Without that, you would be looking more like about 9.4 potentially. So fairly thin, and it certainly looks like a thin watch. And yeah, it's actually mind-boggling how good cheap watches can look these days. I mean, this looks really high-end for the money. Thankfully, they've gone for the cursive Addy's Dive logo. I mean, that word is never going to sound or look the best, admittedly, but looks a lot better than having diving symbols all over the front, in my opinion. Other watches tend to have this unusual monstrosity instead, so I'd probably go with this one if I could. And at least they haven't plastered tons more text or specs all over everything, which is nice. As usual, really, these days, obliterates most of the cheap high street brand offerings in the UK. Looks pretty good indeed. But this isn't the one I was most excited about, funnily enough. That honour goes to its partner in crime here. Now, on the surface, this one looks very, very similar, this AD2502, in terms of the case and everything like that. At least, obviously, we've got that field-style dial here, which is more of like a military designation dial. Also has that screw-down crown, and the overall shape looks really similar, as you can see. But you may notice there's something slightly different about the colour. This metal here certainly looks a lot more dull, and that's because this isn't stainless steel. And unlike many mainstream brands, it's not because they went with a cheaper material instead. It's actually because this watch is titanium. So this is, in the hands, super, super lightweight. Actually feels a bit toy-like, I must admit. But yeah, this is one of the first times I've seen Addy's Dive, or really many of these Chinese brands, experiment with titanium at such a low retail price. The most similar I can think of was the Loris titanium watch, which was actually surprisingly a bit cheaper than this. That's a Japanese Seiko subsidiary, although that one is a bit harder to come by now, and they revamped it a while ago and made it uglier, sadly. Whereas this one has a bit more of a traditional retro field watch aesthetic, and I think it looks pretty good, I've got to say. And yeah, the advantages of titanium are, well, mainly in the weight category. It does have some disadvantages. You'll see that lots of the titanium watches, just like this, tend to have a more dull and kind of boring finish, usually a lot of brushing or blasting. And that's because I believe it's just a bit more difficult to work with. So you can't get as many of the nice, shiny, polished finishes as with the watch on the right here at such an affordable price. And also scratches, if this hasn't been treated, it will scratch, in my opinion, more readily than stainless steel, at least from my experience. But this does give you an unparalleled wear experience. You kind of get a similar weight to the likes of a plastic watch without it feeling quite so cheap or anything. Now, I will quickly measure this one up. Interesting, 36 millimeters. So this is actually smaller than the other one. This is closer to the typical size of these Addy's Dive watches that use this case. And lug to lug is also 45.8, and just a tiny bit thinner there, 10.9. That's with the sticker still on the back. Without the crystal, 8.5. So very, very thin. You can see there the case back doesn't jut out quite as much. Not sure exactly why that's the case, or why they would need to change that from model to model here, but who knows. And I'm just going to get my scales out to really show you here, if you're new to these titanium watches, just what sort of difference this material can make. So this steel one here with all the bracelet links, that's coming in at 112 grams pretty much. And then we move the titanium one on instead, and you can see there 74 grams. Now, I'm not a maths whiz, but that must be somewhere around a 40% difference. So it does wear significantly different. And what other specs has this one got? Grade 2 titanium, apparently, according to the listing. Yeah, it's got the same VH31 movement under the hood as well, which gives it that kind of semi-smooth sweep. And yeah, same sort of crystal again. So that's domed mineral crystal there. Similar finish to the last one again. But I do wonder if this could have been even more impressive if it just stuck to a super flat crystal to get a very skinny profile instead. Maybe that would have been more tempting for some people. But here's a quick look at it on my skinny 6¼ inch wrist. You can see this size fits me pretty well. It's worth saying though, if you've got larger wrists, both of these watches are going to wear quite compactly. Although for field style watches, that tends to be the norm, I have to say. I guess you want a watch that stays out of your way in the field. And there's a look at it from side on. Not too bad. Fairly flush fit. Not too many gaps under the lugs. Pretty familiar shape for me at this point. And this one has the same water resistance again. Same screw down crown. It's also worth mentioning that on titanium watches like this, you'll also find that the crowns always feel a bit grittier, not quite as smooth or satisfying as with steel watches. But boy oh boy are these watches very light indeed. I mean, you could easily forget that watch was there. Almost feels like you're just wearing like an extra ring on your finger or something instead of a whole timekeeping device like this. So yeah, not the most inspiring designs, but certainly not ugly, this one. And I look forward to seeing some more of these Chinese titanium watches coming out of AliExpress. And it is quite dark in here today, so this may be a bit kind to both of these watches, but I have to say this one on the left does seem quite bright indeed. Addy's dive watches have always had pretty good lume, and yeah, that one on the left has very, very good luminescence. The one on the right's still pretty decent too. Now, I know the one on the right said BGW9 in the description, whereas this other one, it just says ultra convex luminous hour markers, so not exactly sure what that one means. Maybe it just means that they're stacked with lume or something. But yeah, for the money, these have fantastic luminescence, especially compared to the likes of Casio. So there's your first look at these two new experimental watches from Addy's Dive, the AD2502 and 2518. They're both linked in the description if you want to check either of them out. Would I buy either of these? Well, I guess I kind of did for this video, but if I wasn't a YouTuber, maybe not. My preference leans more into kind of the designs, to be frank, but technically these are very impressive, I've got to say.